I was thinking the other day about zombie movies. I mean, after all, who doesn't, right? No? Well, anyway, just picture it. They're kind of dead, but kind of not dead. It made me curious. What would that be like? So I thought I would ask someone who's experienced it personally. My friend, Steve Harris. Steve, how did you find out you were one of the walking dead?
Well, several years ago, my younger daughter needed me to co-sign for a car that she wanted to buy. So we went to my credit union thinking we'd get the best deal there. I filled out the form and I gave it to the loan officer, and she came back in about 5 minutes and said, "There's a problem." I said, "Problem? I mean, I've had really good credit my whole life." She said, "Oh no, it's not that you have bad credit. You don't have any credit. You're listed as dead."
I'm assuming you weren't, right?
Well, yeah, that was my working assumption.
So, what happened?
Well, it turns out we had a Chevron credit card that we'd had for years. And when my first wife, Julie, passed away in 2005, for years after that, they just keep sending us 2 new cards every year, one for me, one for her. Eventually, I called them up and said, you don't need to send a card for Julie anymore. And they said, "Oh, well, then would you like to reapply for a new card?" Seems I couldn't use the old one because that was a joint account. And now that she's gone, I no longer qualify on my own, even though I've been the one paying the bills all these years. So I told them, no, don't bother, just close the account. Well, they closed it all right, and they listed the reason as death. Not Julie's death, my death.
So what did you do?
Well, I had to contact all 3 credit agencies and start an official investigation. I had to fill out a ton of paperwork, and it took about 3 months, but we finally got it all straightened out.
Oh my. Sources say that more than 10,000 people with pulses are mistakenly declared dead each year just in the US. So Steve's not alone. In fact, he's lucky. Many of these people had their veterans benefits or social security checks cut off, their bank accounts frozen, their driver's license or passports canceled. It can turn into quite a mess. Most of the time because someone in a government office or credit agency made a typo. And as it turns out, it can be harder than you think to prove you're alive. Physically, anyway. When it comes to our faith, though, it's another story. The Bible gives us some very clear benchmarks we can use to measure our spiritual heartbeat and respiration. They're called the fruits of the Spirit, found in Galatians chapter 5. The Greek word translated fruit refers to the natural product of something that's actually living. The first is love, true biblical love that's not just a feeling. It's a choice to actually put aside our own preferences, seek the welfare of others, and put them first. Then there's joy, a deep sense of gladness based on the reality of what God is doing in our life, not on what our circumstances look like. Next is peace. That's something we don't see a lot of in the world around us these days, but Jesus offers us His peace, a peace that passes understanding because it makes no earthly sense. Then comes patience, which is kind of a lost art in a society that values instant gratification. But as we mature, we learn to wait on God because to Him, nothing's an emergency. He's got a plan, He always has, and will always come out okay if we trust Him to work it out. The list goes on to include kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. So how do your life signs measure up? If you're like the rest of us, it's a mixed bag. But all you have to do is take a look at a tree to realize that the fruit doesn't just appear one day. It starts off small and ripens over time. There's a paraphrase of Romans 8:29 and 30 that explains how it works in our lives. God decided that those who came to Him, and all along He knew who would, should become like His Son, so that His Son would be the first with many brothers and sisters. In other words, bigger and better fruit, healthier signs of life develop as we grow closer and closer to Jesus and pattern our lives after His. We don't focus on the fruit. We focus on the Spirit, and He produces the fruit. That's what we're all about as a family of believers. It's a journey none of us finishes this side of heaven, but it's one we're all on together. We'd love to have you join us. Reach out to us at sgbic.com and we'll be glad to talk with you about what those first few steps look like. And before you go, click like, share this post, and hit that subscribe button to help us get the word out. See you on Sunday.